Well, even more extraordinary because you had been with the Maharishi, and then you had gone to Shivananda's ashram in Rishikesh, then you had gone to Muktananda, so there was this extraordinary Indian lineage.
Yes.
And the LSD.
It was a shock.
And then suddenly, here's this man who obviously probably didn't conform to your idea of a spiritual teacher.
No, Jer, I love you very much, but your pants were too short and your socks were white.
and yet.
So yes, it was a bit of a shift.
Yeah. and yet it didn't get in the way.
Oh, golly, no. The energy, I mean, you know, there was a visual thing that I was going, but it was so minor compared to this overwhelming love. And again, truly like everything you've known of, I've often experienced that a way that my love of spirit has taken place is like everything falling in love is, and then the being in love, and then the staying in love, and then in the love, and these are incremental reference points. And having been through certainly an assortment of them, this was like just falling in the whole thing. And I had lots of moments of great confusion because I still had a great devotion to Muktananda. But the way that God handled, and by the way, anecdotally, the woman that I often used to room with on retreats with Muktananda was a woman named Malti, who today is Guru Mai. And she inherited the mantle from Muktananda, very, very exquisitely beautiful Indian girl. And I gave a reception for Baba in my home, which is a great honor. I'd already requested it before this evening occurred with John Roger, but let me continue with that. That night I had an exquisite dream, and a moment occurred between JR and myself that just was a symbology of such spiritual promise. These things are hard, as we know, to discuss outwardly because they take place so profoundly inwardly, but it's a profound knowing. It's just knowing.
Now this dream was the evening
of that seminar.
Okay.
And I woke the next day and I went right to Prana back.
Now, I just want to, for the listeners, Prana is the headquarters of the movement of spiritual inner awareness, and was a living situation at the time. It was called Ashram, and now it's Peace Theological Seminary and College of Philosophy.
Yes.
But at that time it was Prana Theological Seminary, and Prana stood for the Purple Rose Ashram of the New Age.
Yes.
And I remember those days.
Oh, they were such beautiful days, and looking at you, it's just like, you know, to share one of the greatest things in my life is my friendships, and the friendships, I mean, here I am in the business of entertainment, but my most profound friendships are my spiritual beloveds, my spiritual family with whom I've been for so many years. That was 1973, I believe, and I think fall of 73. So that's many years, that's 30 years. Mm-hmm. And you're one of my beloved friends. So. But when I went back to Prana the next day, I went to see a woman named Polly McGarry, who was in the products department downstairs, and I bought every JR tape that was in existence and every book. And she helped me load my car with boxes, which was sort of typical. I sort of do it's like 100%. And I went home, and I think I got a little indigestion. I mean, I was up all night the next day and at JR seminar the next night, and was asking by Friday, the shyest girl in the world, if I could be a seminar leader, not even knowing what it was, and heard a yes on Friday. And by Sunday, I was hiding behind the stairs of my house as 4 people who'd come to seminar were coaxing me out from behind the stairs. Would I please lead the seminar?
And again, the seminar being a playing of a John Roger tape.
Yes, a playing of a John Roger tape, which I began before I had made my definitive motion from a shift from Muktananda to John Roger. So.
Now let's go back to this dream. So this dream obviously is there anything you can share about that dream at all?
Yes, the dream was John Roger was standing at the top of stairs, and they were stairs of great light, and he was handing me a white rose. And I think in the dream I said, "Are we engaged now?" Because that was, can we get married? That was the feeling that was the journey I was on, and there was just a kind of very loving "we'll see." I don't know that those were the words spoken, but that was the sense of it. And so I was very much on this, right? And the description of home, and you know, I'm a very loyal person, so in my mind I was having difficulty with my, there was no greater relationship in my life, short of my son, than to my love with Muktananda. And I had now been allowed to have a reception in my home. I could invite anybody I wished. So I called everybody I knew, and it was very eclectic. I just had everybody, and I called John Roger, and he called back, said he would love to come. And I remember stuttering, going, "Well, JR, could you help me, because there's the chair for Muktananda. Do you want a chair as high as Muktananda's? Is that the way this should go?" He was so kind, because I was so stuttering. What is the spiritual etiquette? I had never been in this situation
So you're
before.
having a party, essentially, and inviting both Muktananda and John Roger.
And John Roger and many other people. John Roger said, "I'm an invited guest like everyone else. I'd like to be on the floor." And in the Hindu tradition, when you come before the guru, the men are on one side and the women are on the other side. So I invited, let's see, how many ex-husbands did I have at this point? I had one. Okay. Yes. And
this was Ryan O'Neill.
Ryan O'Neill. So I invited Ryan O'Neill and his whole family, actresses that I knew. I remember Olivia Hussey, who was my dear sister with Muktananda. I brought her to Muktananda, and he initiated us both at the same time. Although the ironic thing is when everybody came before Muktananda to receive Om Namah Shivaya, he gave me a different tone. I thought it was because I must be retarded. That was always my first, something's wrong and I have to have remedial help. And it turned out later that it was one of the tones that I received from John Roger. So it was like Muktananda already knew. And when I had that experience with the LSD, he was the one giving me away. Well, now we were here at a very simulated experience. There were white carpets with flowers everywhere. At this reception, I was in the sari Baba had given me. Baba is in the chair. John Roger is at his feet heading the men's side. I'm at his feet heading the women's side. And Olivia and all my women friends and Ryan and all these actors and whoever else I could bring in to this experience.
And where was this located, by the way?
In my home.
This was in your home?
In my home. And it was at that moment and at that time that Baba, and I will be speaking out of perhaps the understanding of the context of the audience, but I'll go for it first and then we can cover that ground. But it was at that time that Baba transferred me to John Roger and transferred my karma over to John Roger, or at least the beginnings of that was in place. And shortly thereafter, some days later, and it was exquisite experience, John Roger came forward in the greatest honoring and kindness and graciousness to Muktananda, and, you know, gave his regards, as did I and as did all. And a week later, I went on a retreat with Muktananda, and I felt him beginning to energetically push me out.
Well, let's just stop there for a moment, because I just want to pause for kind of station identification here.
Yes.
Believe it or not, we've been going 1 hour.
Oh my goodness.
And this is As the Spirit Moves You. I'm Dr. Paul Kay, and I'm interviewing Leigh Taylor Young, and we've just completed the first part of that interview. We're going to go for a second hour here, so please stay with us and we'll continue on. Hopefully, if you, like myself, this hour has just flown by. I mean, it seems like 10 minutes to me, and I'm totally engrossed and engaged in what you're saying, so I'm thrilled to have you with us.